The Aeron Chair by Herman Miller. Probably one of the most popular one on the market right now.
But why should you get one? Is it really one of the best? And what does it have to do with gaming? And why am I sitting on the floor right now and not on the beloved Aeron? Let's figure that out together.
The Aeron Chair, originally designed by Bill Stumpf and Don Chadwick in 1994. So, many moons ago, a new office chair was born. Probably one of the most unique one of our time. Well, there are actually two major versions of the Aeron Chair. One is the firstborn from 1994, where both designers worked together. Then, in 2016, the remastered version entered the market, and it was done by Don Chadwick.
But let's take a closer look on the differences between those two variants, because there is the possibility that you could buy the classic one.
Often sold under the name Aeron Refurbished. So, not the remastered and new version of this chair. Don't mix that up. I will show you really quick the major differences so you get a feeling for it. Nothing long because this video is focused on the newest version. The old variant from 1994 had most of its adjustments integrated in the sides of the aluminium frame. Those handles were needed to lock the backrest or unlock the forward tilt, for example. Now everything looks different. The only possible adjustment in the aluminium frame which remains is the handle for the cylinder, where you can adjust your overall seat height. The handles for locking the backrest or unlocking the forward tilt are now underneath the chair. Also, the new Aeron is more modern and technically you could say it's a slim version of the old one. The different sizes though in general for the Aeron remain, and it matters which one you're going to pick, but we will talk about the specific sizes in a little bit. A very important part, so don't miss out on that.
But that was just a tiny glimpse in the changes they have made. In fact, there are some more, but let's now focus on the Aeron Remastered again.
As I mentioned before, there are different sizes available for the Aeron Chair. A, B and C. Herman Miller provides you with a graph which explains which size makes sense for you. So let's go through this graph and I'll explain how it actually works. We get lucky here, because they made one for the Imperial measurements and one for the metric system. I am from Germany, so I picked the one with the centimeters and kilogram. But I link both in the description for you, so you don't have to specifically search for it. On the bottom of the graph we have the kilogram and on the left side we have the height in centimeters. And of course I picked myself for explaining the graph. I am about 86 kilograms and about 170 centimeters tall. As you can see here that the graph would actually suggest B or C, while I am currently sitting on size B. So what they do here can be a little confusing because of the wide range for B and C. But in my case it is true, I could also sit on size C and it's very comfortable as well, although I don't have any issues while sitting on size B. Some people complain that the shell hurts them. I never had this issue personally, but everyone sits differently and has different sensitivities. But we will not do a deep dive into the ergonomics and how you actually should sit correctly in this review, because that can also depend on the person itself, yet some guidelines for sitting correctly exist.
If you're interested in a video about that, then just let me know in the comments below. This video here is mainly about the Aeron Chair in general, but I could make a special for you if you want to.
Back to the graph and why I'm sitting on size B. And for why, I have a simple explanation for. I just share the chair with my wife and it fits perfectly for both of our heights. Oh, my father, for example, is significantly smaller than I am and also has significantly less weight than I have. Yet he's sitting on size C. But the graph would recommend size B. Believe it or not, he loves his size C chair. But he also never sits for very long, and this is also proof that everyone has different opinions on comfort. But there is something about this graph which is not quite correct in my opinion. Let's check the graph at my weight and height again and scale down to, let's say, between 172 and 175 centimeters. It still shows that size C can be an option. I do believe though that it could push more against your knee pits with 172 centimeters, which does not affect me on size C with my height of around 187 centimeters. So what do we learn from this graph? It does provide us with a direction of which chair could be the correct one, but it is not a 100% guaranteed guide that you could sit on B or C, for example, perfectly. In my case though, both are perfect and the graph recommends both sizes as well. But we have to keep in mind that they are just showing what could be possible for the user.
Yet there is one specific thing we need to talk about before we jump to the next chapter.
When you jump from size B to size C, you will feel a difference in the, let's say, softness from the mesh itself. If you have the opportunity to test it side by side for yourself, you will feel the comfort differences immediately, especially when you're about my measurements. The reason for it is quite simple. Size C has the bigger seat and back and wider mesh itself, so it lets you sink in a little bit more. But let's leave the size behind us for now and jump to the functions and what they actually do. Later in the conclusion we will talk a bit more about the size again, and there I will share a personal advice about it. So stick with me a little longer.
The functions are quite simple and almost self-explaining, but I'll go through that anyway and demonstrate how it works. But that requires the version with all functions integrated.
Let's start with the adjustable arms. You can simply slide them up and down individually by unlocking the clips. And just move them like I demonstrate here, because if you try to do that on the actual arm pad, it probably won't work, even with the open clip. And it is nice that you can adjust them like this. For me, sometimes I lower the right armrest to the lowest point when I play guitar. It helps a little against distraction from the armrest. The arm pads are simply adjustable by moving them in the direction you want them. There are no clips or anything. Pretty simple and user-friendly. Further down on the right side of your seating position, in the aluminium frame, you can find the lever for the seat height adjustment. And yes, the frame is aluminium, even on the darker versions. It would be powder coated then. But we also talk about the different materials soon. So you just pull the lever to raise or lower the chair. Lowering works while you sit on the chair, and for raising you need to get up for this move. That's just how the cylinder works. Tilt tension. Actually one of my favorite parts. To increase or decrease the tension, just check the side of the knob, which shows you which way you have to turn it. There is a plus and a minus sign. I always tend to adjust it into a level where it keeps me almost in every position without working too hard to lean backwards or coming back forward again. Don't do it while you're leaning back though. Also, there is a wide range for the adjustment, so don't worry, it can take a few spins until it's adjusted to your preferred comfort level. The tilt range is on the opposite side, the left side from your seating position. It is the inner ring you can see here. This is where you can adjust the overall tilt range. In its default position, you can lean back all the way. The middle position lets you only lean back around halfway, and the last position is just fixed. There, on the same knob, we have the forward tilt option, which lets you tilt the entire seat a few degrees forward. But this one works a little different. You have to hold the knob into the forward position, then lean back a tiny little bit and you will notice a click sound. Then release the knob and lean forward again. You will notice that the entire chair is leaning forward a little bit more than before. That actually helps if you have focused keyboard work, for example, and it lets you sit even more straight. But something else has changed now. The tilt range gets now an additional lock position which you can set. So the chair won't let you lean back while you're in that position as well. Just test for yourself a little, which position is more comfortable for you. Posture Fit SL is the final real adjustable thing we have here on my chair. You can simply adjust the pressure by turning one of the knobs plus or minus. No worries, the knobs are connected and it doesn't matter which one you pick. So just move your butt into a normal seating position and adjust it while you're sitting with your arm around the chair. Pretty simple as well, and while you are adjusting, you will notice a slight difference depending on which way you are turning the knob.
And that's pretty much it for all the available configurations, and I recommend getting all of them, especially the Posture Fit SL, because I do think that it's the best choice for your back. Now let us start with the Onyx variant, in other words, the gaming Aeron.
But keep in mind that there is no difference between the black or the Onyx variant you might find at the authorized dealer's homepage in terms of the color. It's just black and the same color like the gaming variant from the Herman Miller page. The correct name is just Onyx. A difference could be in the configurations of the function itself. So always compare them from an authorized dealer to the Herman Miller page, especially if there is a big price difference. Just check their descriptions. Aside from the gaming variant, we also have the option to combine the black seat and back with an all-polished aluminum base and frame, like I have here on my chair, although I have the graphite seat and back. And this combination is possible for every available color of the chair. The mineral, black aka Onyx, and the graphite one. They once offered a color which called carbon, yet it seems they don't offer that anymore, at least not on their official homepage. Either the US or German store, I checked both.
Two last things which are important to know in my opinion. If you order the Aeron Chair in a unicolored, usually the base will be made out of plastic. Yet, the aluminium frame on the side remains aluminium, but it will be powder coated.
There was a version where you could have the base powder coated aluminium as well, but that would make the chair the same price as it is with the polished version, and it is not common anymore, it seems. And I'm not 100% sure if they still would manufacture it at all nowadays. The second one I want to talk about are the different fabrics of the arm pads. Usually it comes with vinyl, which is very nice and soft. You do have the option though for leather arm pads. Makes it more expensive, and I actually think that the vinyl is perfect. It is an upgrade and possible, and I just wanted to mention it. So let's wrap the things up and check out what makes the Aeron Chair the perfect chair, especially if you consider getting one for gaming.
I need to mention that I own this one here a couple of years by now, to be more specific since 2019. Yet I know this chair for probably more than 20 years now. I remember when I saw it the first time and I was like, okay, that looks strange. But over the time I found the design in general more and more interesting. But design isn't everything. It was the moment I sat down on the Aeron Chair for the very first time and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have one. And I did eventually. I did buy an Aeron Chair and I never regret my decision. But what makes this chair so good?
First of all, we have the mesh as fabric for the seat and the back, which is very good, especially considering if you live somewhere where it can get hot in summer and you don't have any air conditioning. Not only is this providing a better airflow, it also is much cleaner than other fabrics and much easier to take care of. Secondly, we have all the adjustment features, and I recommend getting all of them included. Better safe than sorry, because you cannot just add a forward tilt later on, for example. But back to the options. They really let you adjust the chair for your personal preferences, and every single knob or clip can make a difference. And that leads us to the next point. While we are talking about differences, Herman Miller provides you with 3 different sizes of this chair. You just have to find out which one is perfect for you. But overall, it is great that a manufacturer makes a product for a lot of different people out there. That definitely is not common in the office furniture industry when we talk about chairs. But if size C is not wide enough for you, then you might want to look into the M-Body. Also a great chair, but there are some things which I believe are not quite optimized yet. Anyway, this review is about the Aeron.
Now, probably one of the most interesting parts for everyone is the pricing. But we have to see this here from a different perspective and not judging a book by its cover. And the cover in that case would be the price. Why would you spend so much money on a piece of furniture? I know all these phrases and I'm aware of this, that some people say like, oh my god, I would never spend so much money on a chair, are you crazy, or whatever. Let me give you some examples. First of all, the most obvious is your health. You can sit badly. You won't feel it right away, but you definitely will once you get older.
The second interesting point is the warranty. They provide you with 12 years warranty on a new product, which already should give you an indicator of how much they believe in the sustainability of this particular product. My father, for example, owns an Aeron chair which is more than 20 years old and it still works just fine. Last but not least, about the price. Just look at your mobile device or graphics card, for example. Just look at it for a second and think about how often do you replace those things? I will go even further. How often do you have to replace it? Just ask yourself and just pick one electronic device. How long will it last you? Add it up for 12 years and see where you are at. I know that it might not be comparable in terms of what you actually get, but maybe you just see a good chair as your gaming gear, just as a part of your environment and equipment, which makes you enjoy gaming at your desk even more. You play the best games on the best hardware, yet your back still hurts.
And one advice for everyone who is interested in always getting the best deal. If it's not a perfect deal for your wallet right now, then maybe you just wait a little longer. You've been probably waiting for quite some time to make a decision anyway.
Just check the websites of your nearest authorized dealers and compare it to Herman Miller's official page. Sign up for a newsletter is a good advice too. They usually have some price drops here and there, but actually even full price would be reasonable. I once decided for the more expensive variant with the fully polished aluminium frame. At that price point, I wanted to get what I want. I might have this chair for the rest of my life. Well, I hope I will. Even if I maybe have to replace a part here and there someday. Also, if you want the newest version of the chair, always look up hermanmiller.com first and check there for an authorized dealer near you. Maybe you can get the possibility to test them first.
And here's my personal advice for the sizes. If you have the opportunity to test them before, then it's great. If not, I think the graph in general gives you a good indicator. Personal preferences accepted, of course. And I highly recommend testing one if you can. You just would produce unnecessary carbon footprint if you have to send a box like this back. This is not just a, let's say, FedEx or UPS standard delivery box. This here is good old cargo stuff. And if you are someone who talks in his private life or at work maybe about sustainability, keep that in mind as well.
If you have my height and around the same weight range which I mentioned earlier, there will be no right or wrong for size B or C, and none of them will actually hurt you. If it does, then I would recommend you to get used to a different seating posture. And that is actually a big point about the Aeron Chair. It kind of forces you to sit even more correctly. Sometimes you might have to get used to this. Get a new mattress, for example. Then you may not sleep as well as you did before. But after a couple of weeks, you eventually got used to it and you can sleep better than before. And if you absolutely can't remember the last time you bought a new mattress, then I highly recommend in doing this now. It would be time for sure.
I hope you will find a chair someday which provides you with the best comfort and best ergonomics possible for you.
For me, it's the Aeron Chair, and if nothing major changes on the market, I will just stick with it. And the reason why I'm sitting on the floor is simply because that way I can cuddle my pup better. Thank you for watching. Good boy. Good boy. You're a good boy. Yes, of course you're a good boy. Yes, of course you're a good boy. Yeah, you're a good boy. You're a good boy.